Hey guys, welcome back to for another exciting episode of YOML. Today we're trying to do the final installment of the book The Dip by Seth Godin. Can't wait to hear what Chris concluded on his reflection so far.
Yeah, so we talked about The Dip, what it was, the first book, and how about being stuck in the cul-de-sac, right? So the story that I had shared with you about this, where this book came from, it was to set the stage, to set the scene, I guess, if you will. Like, I'd been working at Salesforce for almost about 4 years at that point in time, and I knew I wasn't like I was in a cul-de-sac. I knew it. I knew that for a while. I mean, you and I talked about it all the time of like, I don't know what's next, but like, should be something aligned with, living for two and all that other stuff. And, I just didn't know what to do. I was just kind of stuck in this cul-de-sac and happy to be stuck in the cul-de-sac, stuck in the dip, if you will. This guy that I had been talking to, who was a partner of mine at Salesforce, who worked closely with me as an implementation partner. Whenever I would sell software, he would do the implementation. He was the CEO of this company. He offered me that opportunity potentially to take over his sales team to institute the stuff that we're trying to do for the culture that we're trying to build and do a Club and Light program. And that was what I had positioned it as with him. And he was all about it. He was like, yeah, let's do this. So he had said, I need to go because it was a small business. I mean, it was probably like 40 or 50 employees. And he was like, well, I'm for the first time ever going to go raise some capital so we can, grow a sales team and really scale this business. Obviously, you'll be the one that'll lead that sales team. And I was like, okay, that sounds great. He spent like 6-8 months fundraising, whatever. And the company that decided to invest in him initially ended up acquiring him instead. So that company that ended up acquiring him, a company I never heard of, and I didn't have any desire to want to go work. I wanted to work for him to do to do Club and Light, but he was like, convinced me to at least hear this company out. And I was like, I don't really want to go work for another company, like I just don't want to go from one cul-de-sac to another cul-de-sac of doing, crap that I don't want to do, like that. There was the reason why I was even interested was to, I know how to say no now, and I know when to quit and when to not quit, but and when the right opportunity to leave the cul-de-sac is coming. And I was like, I don't see it, man. But I was like, sure, I trust you. I ended up having a conversation with the SVP of sales at this company. He was in need of a sales leader for a particular area of the business. First, we talked. I was kind of like, I don't think I'm a fit. Honestly, he was like, I really like you, but I don't know that I have a spot for you in terms of what you're trying to do. I told him what exactly I wanted to do. Same thing that I had been talking to the other guy about. And he was like, I really like you though. I'd like to talk again. And I was like, sure, whatever. I don't even know. I talked to you about it.
Right.
And I was like, this isn't going to work out. Like, I mean, it is what it is. So we ended up having another conversation. And through that, we got to know each other a little bit more around my values, what I was trying to do, his values, what he was trying to do, and shared with him more about my story with Amelia and you and Clubany and stuff that we've been trying to do. And he was starting to get it. And then through that conversation, we collaboratively figured out this role that he thought that I wouldn't have wanted. But actually, I was like, this is like the perfect role that I wanted to help try to do this whole Clubany program. And we were both like, left that conversation going, I'm intrigued. And we were both like, okay, this might actually work. So then he flew out here to meet me. He's from San Francisco, and he came out here to Indianapolis to take me out to get some food and, talk a little bit more and figure out kind of what this might look like if we ever were to really do this. So, we got to meet in person for the first time, and, we started talking about some of the books that I've been reading, right? Because obviously these are lessons learned, and where a lot of this kind of story unfolds is through the year of magical learning and going through all this stuff. And I asked him, I was like, what's your favorite books you've ever read? And he was like, well, I'm a big fan of Seth Godin. He was like, actually, one of my favorite books I've ever read is this book called The Dip. And I go, oh, okay, interesting. So I had my phone, I downloaded it real fast, and I was like, I'll check it out. So this was on like a Wednesday or something like that, or maybe like a Tuesday. And 2 days later, it's a pretty short book. I was listening to it as an audiobook. I was out on a run with Amelia, and Seth Godin is talking about the point of the dip is to solve the biggest problems. And if you don't want to solve the biggest problems, what are you doing? And I heard this as I was on the run, right? And I was like, my head was just spinning. I was like, what am I doing? Like, what am I doing at Salesforce? I was like, I'm not solving big problems. I know what big problems I want to solve. I know what big problems you and I collectively want to solve. I want to help people to live a balanced existence, myself first and foremost, and also to find meaningful work and to build meaningful relationships and to live their values and everything that they do. Like, this is what we talk about all the time. And I was like, that is a big problem that we were trying to solve, because a lot of people don't have that opportunity. A lot of people, A, don't know what those things are. B, they don't have the opportunity to bring them out where they're at. And C, like, they don't have a community of people to go do it all together. Those are big challenges, and those are big problems that keep me up at night and make me want to keep learning and growing and having these conversations with you. These are the big problems that I wanted to solve in life. As I was listening to this book, I finished it on that run. It was 2 days later after Dennis had come out to meet me, and I came around the corner, jogged back into my house. We still had a nanny at that time. And I jogged back in, and she was in the kitchen with my son. And I was like, I'm going to quit my job. And what are you talking about? I go, I just decided I'm going to quit, and I picked up my phone and I texted Dennis, and I was like, I'm in. I was like, I don't know if you did this on purpose, but I just finished the dip, and I told him I'm ready to tackle my bigger challenges and ready to go do the stuff that I wanted to go do. I can't remember the exact text I sent. It was something along those lines. And I was like, let's fucking do this, And he was like, Jesus, you just read a book in 2 days and you're ready to do that. He was like, let's go. So that was when I decided to leave. It made me think about phase 2, this whole entire conversation of the dip, of like, what do I want to be world class at? What do I want to solve? What is the big problems that I want to solve? And for me, is I want to be world class at being me. I don't think so. It's the only challenge that I really care about. It's the only big problem that I want to find a way to live a balanced existence with meaningful work and relationships. And doing so, I'll try to help others as well. But really, at the end of the day, all this stuff is to help me and subsequently anybody else that we're to doing this with, to help each other through this whole process of shared values and a shared mission that we care about, because these are things that we care about together collectively. And that's really what I want to be. Like, I mean, that's what I want to care about. That's what I want to push through the dip for, is to figure out how I can be the absolute best person that I can be and live my values every single day and bring them to life, and do those with Amelia and do those with you and anybody else that we bring onto this clubbing mission and program. So I decided to quit. that was the story. Love to get your thoughts.
Yeah, so two things comes to mind. The first thing I think is related to the book. I think if you are focusing on being you, I think you will be world class automatically.
Mm-hmm.
And I can guarantee that. Just focus on being yourself. If you beaver on purpose, you become, world class at whatever that is. And that is guaranteed. That you don't need to say, hey, I'm striving to be world class at this and that and whatever. Just say, hey, I just want to be me. What is it that you want to be? Right. And I think, I've read this book. I've went down this journey with, and I've learned these values, and these are what I believe in. And then you do them. This is called soul in the game. I mean, because you're not only preaching, but you're practicing. And to me, that's a big difference between a philosopher and a practitioner, right?
Agreed.
Practitioner has their soul in the game, which is they do the things they say, and it's a testament to the belief that we have in company. We do exactly what we say we do, and to us, that is being ourselves.
Right.
And you and I, went on to this journey for almost 3 years now. In 3 more months, we'll be doing our 3rd year anniversary of company founding, and that's, to me, that seems like yesterday since we started doing that.
It does. It really does. It doesn't seem like it's been that long, honestly.
And so we do exactly what we say we do. And that experience for me has been very enjoyable. It fulfills a lot of the things that I have, I guess, desire for in what I want for myself. And I think being yourself brings you the memories and fulfillment that you want. And I think if you focus on being yourself, world class comes automatically. It's like your shadow. Wherever you go, your shadow will follow. And guarantee world class at being you will be just, hey, I just want to be me. And I think that's the difference. I think when people read a book, the dip or whatever, they just, wow, that's interesting. But they don't do anything with it. And when you do that, well, what's the point of reading books? Some people can read like hundreds of books, even thousands of books, and they don't practice any principle in the book. Then what's the point of reading it? I mean, there's so many foundations in many of these books that we can learn lessons from. Like, this is the year of magical learning. So each reflection is a lesson we can take and try it, whether or not that resonate with your core values or not. Is actually testing out the lessons, because you're looking at the Black Swan, you're looking at Anti-Fragile, you're looking at the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. If you don't put these into practice, then why read in the first place? And I think having been the discoverer of your values, that's just half of the battle, right? You have to discover your value by doing self-reflection, and then try out some of these things. Say, okay, I think I'm this person, or I'm that. Like I say, for me, it's like, okay, if you say, well, I'm more of a beaver kind of person, and so can I become a good beaver? Do I enjoy like paddling in the water, whatever? Versus like what people tells you in society, hey, should be, everybody asks you, what would you want to do when you grow up? Everybody gives like the same answer. Oh, a doctor, a lawyer, a movie star,
Right.
basketball
I've never
star.
done that though.
I mean,
That's just a theory.
that's the thing is, most people don't even understand what it is like. Right? For example, let's say your mom said, "Hey, Chris, you're a really good talker. You should be a lawyer."
That's what
You
they
think
told me
about it.
as a kid.
So
I
let's
went to school. Originally
so
I went to
let's
college with the
say you've
intention
been
of going to law school.
conditioned. You believe in, hey, I have the skills. I can talk well, and I can convince a lot of people. I should be a lawyer. But you think about now, would you want to be a lawyer? Now you know what a lawyer is.
I went to go shadow my aunt for one day in college when I was home for the summer from my freshman year of college. And I went to school originally with the intention of, I did business management because I wanted to be in corporate law. Mm-hmm. So I was like, well, it'd probably be good to have a business
But that's the
background.
thing is, I know from the story, you are fortunate enough to have an aunt that's a lawyer, or that you can go and shadow somebody, right? That is called the trying out. Because
Right.
you think, hey, because if you never had the opportunity to go and shadow somebody, you would have gone to law school and you would have this sunk cost fallacy and you would have actually continue lawyer. And you're gonna have a miserable life.
I mean, I don't know if it would have been miserable. Maybe I would have ended up owning my own law practice and focused on just the business aspect of it and stopped practicing law. I don't know. But to your point, like I know
But
I would have been miserable
in
being
order
a
for you
lawyer.
to become a business partner, you have to get
right.
You have to earn your
do the
stripes.
shit that I don't want to do.
You can't just say, okay, I don't want to be a lawyer. That's what I'm saying is, a lot of people don't do that. They don't try it out. Self-reflection is one thing, but trying out and see if whatever you do is are you being yourself versus
Right.
are you being somebody else's version of yourself? Because I can say, hey, Chris, you're a good talker. You should be a lawyer. Hey, Chris, you're, very athletic. You should be an athlete, right? Maybe I'll enjoy doing some competitive, tennis, whatever, but I have something else. I want to be, I don't know. You be a good gardener. You can be a philosopher. You can be a teacher. That's probably a better fit. Yes, you can do athletic, and you have the bill for that. And so that doesn't mean that you should. Just like I said, if I can clean the toilet, doesn't mean I should be cleaning the toilet. I don't want to clean the toilet. Doesn't mean like my ability allows me to do that because I have the physical ability, the faculty to do that. But doesn't mean I want to.
I would probably love being a house cleaner. I just put my headphones in, listen to a book all day long while I was just sweeping up the house and vacuuming and doing some dishes. I love cleaning the house. Like I'd be a damn good house cleaner. I'd be a good landscaper too. Like I love meticulous landscaping. I don't like backbreaking, like lifting massive rocks and shit like that landscaping, but I love just like getting out there, pulling weeds, trimming shrubs.
Well,
like,
so that's my point though. You like something. And say, I think I would like cleaning. I would like to do, lawn, this and that. But the thing is, once you get into it, right? And then if you find out you're in a dip, which just means you're not yourself. So get the fuck out. So that's my point. My point is there is the cycles of phases that you have to go through. And what you decide to do when you're in a dip, that is what counts.
Well, I don't think you need to decide. I think we talked about this last time. I agree with you, like 100%. And it's natural. You don't even notice you're in the dip when you get out of the dip.
But that's the thing is when you're in a dip means that you're in a dip at Salesforce. Right?
It wasn't what I wanted to do.
But that's the thing is you were still there until somebody gives you this book and they say, oh, what am I doing?
Man,
So let's say there are like a million Chris's out there, but only this Chris got the book.
I mean, talk about the alchemist, and when you want something, the whole world conspires to make it happen. Like this whole process of talking to Raul, the guy that was the previous CEO of the company that got acquired, this started back in November of 2021. Actually, I think his first time probably like August of 2021 was the first time that he broached me about that. And he said, I should have funding by April, May of 2022. Then he got acquired in April or May of 2022 by this company that I work for now. And then I didn't start there until August, right? The reason why Raul connected to me so much is because he was following along with my journey with what we've been doing. He always has asked me about this stuff, like outside of us collaborating on jobs and things like that. That was why he was intrigued of wanting to let me do this, because he knew that I was not going to fuck around, like I was serious about this stuff and we would talk about these things. And he was like, well, I think he could see that I had my soul in the game is what the point was, right? And that was just, we weren't even talking about this stuff, right? Like it wasn't like I was propositioning him for a role or something like that. When somebody has their soul in the game, other people just see it. right? It stands out from people because so many people walk around.
There's a big difference. There's a
It's
big
huge
difference between a person being themselves and people pretending to be themselves, right?
Exactly.
And so what, like, to me, I believe that if you being yourself, world class is like guaranteed. World class of being whatever is guaranteed because there is so much of a difference between. I'm talking about 10x and 100x easy, because no one is going to be say. Let's say you love playing poker, right? How long will you sit there at the table versus somebody play for? Hey, I don't like it. Right? They probably play 15, 30 minutes and they leave. You're gonna be there like 24/7.
I mean, I would have, if I could, and I had no attachments, and I lived near, like, and I lived in Vegas or something like that. Like, I easily could have done this like a 48 to 72 hour, bender with only a couple naps in between without.
But
really
that's the
even
thing
thinking
is,
about it,
when you're being yourself, it's almost like this extreme addiction.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I'm talking about. Is you find something that you are extremely motivated to do from within. That is in the comparison. When you say, hey, somebody's playing poker, right? Somebody is really having fun playing poker, right? They probably gonna play like once a week, like Friday night, Saturday night, from 5 to 9 or 10 or whatever number of hours, versus a person who's addicted to poker. What is the difference between the player who likes to play and people who is like addicted to it, right? And there's some people who are abhorred by the sight of poker, right? They can't even, they don't even understand how poker works, and they can't even figure it out. To them, it's the most like boring thing ever, and there's a lot of them. What I'm saying is, if you take everybody and you standardize everybody and say, hey, everybody should be able to play poker, and everybody should play the same number of hours, 8 hours a day. This is what I call the workforce. To me, you cannot be world class if everybody's in a debt. The only way to be world class is whenever you do.
This is good. It's good timing actually today, because Darren Hardy's Darren Daily mentoring session today was about pushing. Have you ever heard of in the tech world when they talk about the valley of death? You ever heard of this before?
I heard of it. I don't.
It's like when you're searching for product market fit, kind of like, and it's that you had a little bit of success, like maybe you had a couple thousand people download, like Airbnb, right? The first time I ever heard that word was the guy that runs Y Combinator told the co-founders of Airbnb, who was a Y Combinator thing. It was on a How I Built This podcast. They were talking about going through the valley of death. They had this little bit of success. They thought they were onto something, tried it on their own. They had a little bit of success. Then they just fell off a cliff. They were like, we don't know where we're going from here. And then they wandered around for like 2-3 years almost, trying to figure out like, how can we gain momentum here or not gain momentum here? And they just really believed in the idea. And then eventually they found their way through to the other side. And that was what the Y Combinator people say, oh, this is like the typical valley of death. Darren Hardy today was going through that whole entire thing about like, look, if you really want to be great at something, it's really just sticking with something and enduring past the valley of death and through all this other stuff. And like, as I was hearing this, I was like, no, they got that all wrong. It's the valley of life, like you're saying, right? Like, I don't care if I'm walking through the valley of, I care if I'm walking through the valley of death. I care if I'm in the dip, like, but if I'm in the, if I'm in the curve before the big jump, it's like, oh my God, it's supposed to be exciting. Like when you're problem solving through these things, it's not the valley of death. It was probably not the valley of death for the Airbnb people, unless they absolutely hated what they were doing. They probably were really enjoying themselves, like otherwise.
I mean, you think about mountain climbers, right? If there's no steep mountains, it's like, I can't climb, right? You think about it. Right. The mountain climber, their enjoyment is to climb a steep cliff. Okay?
Right, exactly. Yeah.
When you love something, you actually wanted that valley of whatever, right?
You went to the mountain to go up the fucking mountain. Like, I mean, you saw it. You didn't just go there and go, oh God.
I don't want this steep. I don't want anything to climb. It's like, well, then that defeat the purpose of the ability to climb. And so, I mean, it's not like I said. Go back to a lot of things we said before. Is eating the frog, right? Eating the frog is you are doing things you don't want to do, regardless of regardless of whether there's a valley or a plain or a plateau. It doesn't matter. It takes so much energy away from the things that you're good at, because what you're good at, you automatically, and like mountain climber, for example, they fill it with energy whenever they get to climb.
Right.
And if they don't get to climb, just like we're talking about Sherman in the shed, right? If he doesn't get to go and gallop around the field, he feel like he's not doing what he's supposed to do. He's at death's door because he isn't able to exert against the nature of whatever he needs to. That's what I'm saying is, when you have the right fit of who you're supposed to be, whatever you do, that is going to fuel you to go even more, because the mountain climber, if the mountain is steep, they're not going to climb anything.
Right.
But because the mountain is steep, they want to climb. And so for us, as far as the dip is concerned, I mean, to me, you're going to go through the dip, but the dip, you don't even realize you're in a dip. You just,
No,
I mean,
you packed a lot of cake. You got a pouch full of cake next to you. You can eat all day long. You take your time, enjoy it. You just keep wandering around. I mean, like, hell, Valley sounds kind of nice. You get cake all day long down here. Eventually come out of it.
But the thing, if you can be world class at yourself, you don't care about the dip, okay?
Right.
But if you are not being yourself, then the dip is what you need to watch out for, because it goes back to say, well, what do you want to be? Who do I want to be? Who am I supposed to be?
How do you want to live?
Right? Well, to me, like I said, back in the early reflections, is you have to be who you're supposed to be. So it's not like people would say, well, how do you want to live yourself? You should live as this person or that person. You cannot determine what you should supposed to be. If you're a monkey, you're supposed to be a monkey. You can't say, hey, I want to be a lion. I can't be a duck. Can't be an eagle.
But
you suck at it. It's miserable.
Right.
But that's kind of comes back to the question: is what's the point?
Right.
What's the point of trying to be something you're not? Right. And the thing is, that's what we're being told by our elders, society, by everybody around us. They say, hey, you have, what do you want to be? What do you want to be when you grow up? Everybody say, hey, no, you don't want to be a fisherman. No, don't be a fisherman. They don't make any money. They don't do anything. They don't contribute to society. Oh, you got to be this doctors and help people, save people's lives. You have to be, engineers. You got to be, these like standardized sort of career, like to be a government official, whatever. And that's where we kind of shove the square peg into a round hole. Everybody is just stuffed through the standardization of society, conditioning, and that creates your misery. Your misery comes from that. The misery comes from misfits.
Yeah, misalignment. Okay? Yeah, I mean, yeah,
it's this misalignment. If you misalign, it's going to be miserable for you, regardless of what it is. And you say, well, like I say, a donkey in a shed. Well, if you shelter and protect this donkey from the element, why is he dying? Right? Because that's not his nature. So it's not about what you want to be, it's what you have to be.
Right. That's an important part. That's a really important part, because like you could easily construe what we're saying and say, Chris wants to be a panda bear, so let him go be a panda bear. Like, if that's who he says he is, then that's who he says he is. But the truth is that I'm not a panda bear, right? Like, I don't care how much I try to be a panda bear, I'm not. But that doesn't mean that that we should encourage Chris to go be a panda bear. Like, like you should encourage Chris to be Chris, and maybe say, fine, go try out being a panda bear. But when you figured out that you're not a panda bear, can you come back and be, who you're supposed to be, right? Right. That's fine, right? But like I think there's this I don't want to say an ideology now of be whoever you want to be, like, and that is being misconstrued by, I think, a lot of people, and being enabled by a lot of people to encourage people to go down in their mind. It's like, I want to be a doctor, right? Well, maybe I don't want to be a doctor. Maybe when I try out being a doctor, like, I realize I don't want to be a doctor.
You ask people, say you want to be a superstar, everybody's gonna say, yeah.
Of course.
They don't understand what being a superstar means, right? So everything comes with a pros and cons, right? Like I say, I don't want to be Elon Musk because I don't. Yes, his money sounds nice, and I may want it, but I don't want his job. I don't want his responsibility. I don't want his
He works 24/7. Like, I mean, he never stops. Like, he doesn't.
because that's his nature. It's not my nature. So my nature is gonna make me miserable. That's what I'm saying. Is you have to be who you're supposed to be, not how you want to be. You say, well, I want to be like Steve Jobs. I want to be like Bill Gates. I want to be like Elon Musk. I want to be like, Trump. I don't want to, whatever it is. You can't say, well, like when you look even at the animals, right? What kind of animal are you? Oh, I want to be something cool. I want to be like an eagle. I want to be a lion. I want to be, something cool. It's like maybe you're a rodent, but you want to be something else.
Right.
You're supposed to be who you're supposed to be. You don't say, well, people look down on rodent, and like let's say you are a
Hey man, rats are the reason why we're still here. I mean, we are rats.
But yeah, we were rats. But my point is, like, let's say you're a raven or a crow, right? I don't want to be a crow. I want to be majestic, or I want to be like the lion, or I want to be like the peacock. I want to be the parrot, right? Well, what happened when you're a peacock?
I don't know. Maybe you don't.
Everybody loves you.
Yeah. Expect you to do the dance every day.
Dance, and guess where you live?
In a cage.
In a cage.
Yeah.
When you're beautiful, right? That's the perks.
That's
Then there's the downside to it. When you're a crow, people shoo you away. Like you can go anywhere you want. You think about it.
Yeah.
So I mean, what is it that's important to you? How is your body is signaling you with emotions? Say, well, this is something I want. Say, people say, you're a crow. You can't, people don't want you. People shoo you away. But you want to be a peacock. You want to be dove. I want to be whatever, right? Let's say you want to be those kind of. You don't want to be a blackbird. You want to be, a colorful bird, right? When you be a colorful bird, people put you in a cage, right? So you gotta be yourself. You gotta be world. You gotta be you. And when you be you, world class comes automatic.
Agreed. If you truly spend the time to figure that out, like that's the key of that is the profoundly simple key ingredient of what we're trying to do with Clubany, is to try to help people to figure out who they want to be, and then give them the freedom to go be that person, with security and a community to do it in. You know what I mean? Not just like, because there's a lot of self-help people out there in the world that maybe try to say a similar message, but then they're like, okay, now go into the world, and you're like, I don't know how to do this. The rest of the world isn't constructed this way.
If you're the smartest person in a room full of rooms of idiots, you're the idiots.
Right. I mean,
and you think about it, all of what we're saying is completely like putting the rules and norms of society upside down. It is completely opposite of what society expects you to do, right? To me, society, even today, let's say you're talking about the self-help gurus, right? So how do they help you? They say, give me $10,000, go to this conference, and I'll teach you, right? But I say, no, we'll give you money.
We'll give you our time. We'll give you our time and money.
We'll give you money first, right?
Right.
And you pay back in the end. In today's world, it's like you have to dish out the money first. I say, well, you dish out this money, you're gonna get back to the return on investment later on when you become a better person, you make more money, right? No, for us, like our mission is to get enough funding to pay a living wage, and for them to become who they're supposed to be, and that become, this valuable world class of being that person.
Right.
That creates value. That value becomes return to fund more Clubany members.
Yes.
So you're looking at the way we approach it. It's completely opposite of everybody in society today. Everybody in society say, give me the money first, and I'll teach you the value, whatever it's going to bring you the return. We, on the other hand, do the opposite of that. Say, hey, we'll give you the money to be yourself, and then when you become valuable, you pay someone else back in return so they can fund more. And so even our approach is opposite. Most of the concepts and reflection we have, it is opposite of what society has been conditioned to do.
Well, because it's a human approach. Like, I mean, it's not like nobody wants to walk into nobody. I don't give a shit who you are. You may thrive in academia, but like that's just because it happened to you happen to be a beaver that, you know, an academia was created for beavers or whatever. You know what I mean? Like you may thrive in academia. You may be the person that you know soars and gets 500 PhDs and you know and just loves it. Like, I mean, that's great. But for the majority of the people in this
I
world,
mean, the thing is,
it's a game.
it's to me, it's a very telltale sign to
You
anyone
follow the rules.
is when they have to retire. When you retire from doing the things you say I love to do, then you're lying to me and you're lying to yourself. You think
Well,
about it. If you have to retire,
unless
like
unless
me,
you're
it's
forced
like
to retire,
for me, it's like if I'm forced to retire. Let's imagine this.
like Tom
Like,
Brady. I mean, eventually a football player can't play football anymore. Eventually, you're just forced to retire.
yeah, but he's gonna play football in another capacity. He's not gonna
How?
stop.
Well, he'll be around the game, but he won't be playing football, at least in the NFL anymore.
He could be,
True.
be involved in it until the day he dies. Just like a person
That's
needs
true.
to breathe, right? The only way to force me to stop breathing is you have to kill me.
Yeah.
So I love breathing so much. I love eating so much. I need
Right.
to eat every day. I need to breathe every second. And so if you say, oh, I love academia or whatever, like if you have to retire from it, then you're not. You just
Yeah.
you say, hey, I love to swim and I swim in the Olympic and I'm good at it. But then you retire from personal swimming, then you actually don't love it. And you're just using your willpower to go
You
through
love
the
it.
valley of death and you eat the frogs until you can't eat anymore. To me, that's a miserable existence, regardless
It
of
is.
how good you can achieve. What the achievement means nothing if it doesn't give you the fulfillment. Because you go back and look at Steve Jobs' story when he is on his deathbed. He said, well, I have billions of dollars.
Right.
But to me, it doesn't work. It's not giving me the kind of experience that I want in life. It's not the kind of activity that gives me fulfillment, regardless of how much money I have. So everybody will consider Steve Jobs a success because people use money as a gauge to measure success of a person. But when he died, he said, "Well, the thing is, money isn't something that I'm proud to have. I think is I've been missing some of the things that I want to. It's not fulfilling to me to have these, like you say about the cars. You can buy a $300,000 car or $30,000 car. It takes you to the same place.
Right.
And so you go and you look at the people at death's door. It's when they tell you the truth, right? Versus now before everybody say, okay, I have this reputation to uphold. I won't tell you what's in my heart because
Yeah, they don't care.
right. But when you're at death's door,
They stop caring. They
you say like this. The thing is, the less you care, the happier you will be.
agree.
Right. And
I
so
mean, he who cares the least wins. I mean, like, and I'm not saying life's about winning or losing, but it's usually whoever walks into if it's a competitive environment, the person that cares the least usually wins, just because they're like, look, I'm just here to do what I want to do, and like, I'm not stressed about it,
right. And because I say that and I do that, I feel like I'm happier just because to me, it's much harder now for you to provoke me.
Right.
Because you can say whatever you want, and I say, I don't really care. You know what I mean? In the past, I would have a cow and I would get angry, and my whole day is ruined just because I'm focusing on trying to, understand and trying to find, like cool comebacks to say to you, blah blah. I say, what the? I don't care, right? Because I'm not being me if I get provoked by somebody. But now that I'm on this journey, right, and I'm not much older, most of the stuff I don't think I'm an average person in terms of getting angry. I'm always angry at somebody. I'm like a grumpy person, okay? Because growing up, I always hated the way society works, and I hated when people tell me something I don't understand. And a lot of time they don't understand either, but they tell me to do things, right? That's why I don't like philosopher because they don't practice what they preach, but they keep preaching to you. Say, hey, you have to do this, have to do that. Society will tell you the same thing, and I always have this disagreement with them,
Right.
and that creates this tension between me and society. That's why I don't like a lot of people. Most people I don't like, just because they have the sense of trying to push their creed onto you, their
Right.
belief onto you, and to me, it goes against what I believe in naturally from when I was young. I wasn't taught this. I don't feel compelled to
I mean,
right.
it's just who you.
My point is, growing up, to me, I'm an above average in terms of being angry. I'm not happy with, but that's what I'm saying is, even as an above average angry,
Anger.
easy, yeah, have anger issue. So that's a bad thing. Just so you guys know, it's a bad thing.
Right.
I am very susceptible to getting angry. So that's a bad thing. But understanding that who I am today, I'm probably on the opposite end now because you really can't provoke me. The only way you provoke me is you touch on something very personal that I truly believe in, and I might fight you. But everything else, you're gonna miss,
Right.
and you just cannot get me to even respond to you. I would ignore you, right? And so
Yeah.
to me, I have got to that point where the less I care, the happier I have become, just because there is less thing that I focus on because I don't latch onto it. And when I latch onto that, whatever that provokes me, I'm not being who I'm supposed to be or how whatever I need to be that makes me this, happy, jolly person.
Right.
Because even if I argue with you, it's not an argument. I'm just saying, well, I'm saying what I say. It doesn't change.
Yeah.
It doesn't.
Oh,
So a lot of people, like when I was much younger, if somebody were to be argumentative with me, even though they're being, with reasoning, I would get offended because say, why are you doing this? Why are you doing this and why are you doing that?
right.
Yeah.
This doesn't make sense. Yeah.
Because the
No,
thing
sorry.
is that's exactly.
Right.
It's like, because I
You're
have
an
this
idiot. What are
logical
you
mind,
doing?
right?
Yeah.
It's like, right, why can't you be reasonable? Why
Right.
are you not reasonable? Then today it's like, well, I don't
Who
know.
cares?
I don't
They're
care.
not. They don't have the same mind as me. Maybe I should be a little bit more imaginative. Maybe I should
Yeah.
get out of my own. Yeah. Yeah. No, I'm with you 100%. It just puts things in perspective. I think it allows you. I think what you're saying to me, what I'm hearing is when you latch on to who you want to be, everything else just really falls to the wayside. It's like, who cares? What does it matter to me if Harry, Prince Harry wants to be a total dick to his family or something like that? I don't care. What does it matter to
I
me?
mean,
Like,
I don't really know that. I mean,
right.
the world could be crashing down, and the royal family or the Kardashians or whatever. I have no idea what to do, and I don't care, and I'm not
And, and
even
it shouldn't matter.
even look at it. Okay. I mean, like I go and I check out the Houston Texans and football and all that, but
Right.
everything else is I don't really care. It's like, okay, this movie star. I said, who's the movie star? I don't care, right?
Right.
The thing is, and I'm not saying and I'm not dinging on anyone who does it. I'm just saying is, if you like something, you do that,
Right.
right? If you don't like it, don't follow people just because everybody's doing it. Because if you do that, then you're not being who you're supposed to be, and that's gonna bring misery to you.
Yep.
That's all I'm saying. So I'm not dinging anyone for say, well, you like football and I like this. You have to find the right alignment to who you're supposed to be. If you're a beaver, be a beaver. Don't try to be an eagle, even though society tells you an eagle is more majestic and
Right.
better. Like everybody to me, like for example, but everybody say you should be a leader in the general sense, like the leader. You need to lead everybody. The thing is, you can't be. Everybody
Everyone
can't be
can't be
a
a leader.
leader,
Somebody's got to
right?
be a
Then who's
follower.
gonna follow you,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
And everybody should be a princess. Everybody should be a
Right.
prince. Everybody should be this and that. So the thing is, it even to me, it doesn't even make logical sense in that saying, right? Because you can't be a leader if you have no followers, right? And so you create a
Right.
bunch of leaders. You're leading no one, then you fail at being a leader, right? That creates misery, and then no one follows you because the other guys are all busy trying to be a leader. So everybody can't be an eagles. You have to be dogs. You have to be rats. You have
It's
to
an
be
ecosystem. Yeah. It's an ecosystem. Like everybody has a
right,
role to play, and they all matter,
right. Because you're talking about elements, right? They have different properties, and hydrogen is going to be different than helium, different carbons, and oxygen. They're going to behave differently. They have different characteristics, and you have
Mhm.
to be that. You can't say, well, I want to be in silver, say I want to be gold, right? And gold say I want to be platinum or lead or whatever. It's like you can't change who you are at the core.
Right. That's the key is you can't change who you are at your core. Like you can think whatever you want to think and you can try whatever you want to try. But like at the end of the day, I mean, this is like the alchemist as well. It's like it always was there the whole entire time when you get done.
It's gonna yank you back to
right,
where you're
yeah,
supposed to be. You're gonna be miserable trying to be something else. You're gonna stretch yourself away from your core, and your core is gonna pull you back at the end.
right.
And so you're constantly struggling, embracing something you're not. That creates the work, right? Because you have the number of electrons or whatever, right?
I think the word is called cognitive dissonance. I think is what it's called.
Whatever it is.
No, I'm saying it's the state of having inconsistent thoughts, beliefs, or attitudes, especially as related to behavioral decisions and attitude change. Smoking. Many people smoke and they know that it's harmful for their health. The magnitude of the dissonance will be higher in people who highly value their health. I used to smoke, and I told you about that. And I would leave. I still always have exercised my entire life, regularly. And I would leave like the gym after running, 5 miles or something like that. And then I'd light up a cigarette in the car on the way home. Like, it's like, what the fuck? Like, that doesn't make any sense, like, and it's like, what are you doing? It's you're either a smoker or you're not a smoker. I always fought the identity of being a smoker. I was like, I don't want to be a smoker, but I'm a smoker. Like, and it was really hard for me the day that I said, what, I'm a smoker. I was like, shit. I was like, I smoke. I was like, oh my God, like I'm a smoker. I'm that guy, And it's like, what do you mean? You've always been a smoker, dude. No, I just like smoked when I was around friends at a bar or whatever in the fraternity or something like that. Like, I'm not a smoker. I'm a social smoker. Yeah. I'll just have a cigarette with somebody. But no, you're right.
I have to understand that I was compelled to do what I need to do. I think for me is I was born in the extremities, right? So my personality is on the extremes. It's not in the middle, because you're in the middle, you're gonna give in a little bit, sway a little bit. It doesn't seem so bad. So a lot of people are in the middle. I'm on the extreme. So when I'm on the extreme, for me to comply, it takes a lot of effort. That's why I always buck the trend. So if you look at the way that I behave, I cannot be peer pressure because I just don't give a damn. You know what I mean? I just don't care. I don't conform to traditions. If it doesn't have any kind of benefits to me, or it doesn't align with the way I understand it, I don't conform to them, right? So for me, it's kind of hard in the Asian culture, because in the Asian culture, there's tradition. They love tradition, and especially to the elders. If the elders give you liquor, you can't refuse.
That's weird.
You can't refuse.
Right.
But I don't fucking care, right?
Yeah.
The thing is, to me, it's like in Asian country, if somebody were to offer you liquor, for whatever reason,
that? Like what?
I don't understand. But
what if you don't want to drink?
You have to drink, because it's a sign of disrespect.
That's weird.
But the thing is, a sign of disrespect in Asian culture is a capital crime in terms of tradition itself. Like they will outcast you, right? Basically, like, so in Asian culture, you can't do that. But I do that because I don't understand it. I don't care.
I mean, that's fair, man.
Right? I'm talking about for like decades.
Right.
People would look at me as this idiot kid or this, jerk or whatever, right? Because I don't drink. I don't like the taste. Even if the elders can't pressure me, you can't pressure me in peer pressure. Do this, do that. Because I just don't register the shamefulness.
Yeah. Interesting.
People feel ashamed when they get offered like a liquor, right? They have to be, be sign of respect. And that is traditions that's been passed on for like thousands of years. It's not just like, short time. It's a long, long time. Right. And that's built into your genes. Because for me, is I have this extreme personality. I actually enjoy being the black sheep. So when people say I'm a black sheep,
well, aren't all leaders kind of black sheeps? I mean, because if they weren't, then they would be followers, right?
The thing is that if you have this extreme in terms of what society wants you to do, it is very difficult for you to conform, because it irritates you at the core. So you can't really say, well, I can compromise a little bit and just drink a little, right? For me, I don't drink at all.
Yeah.
Right? It's not like I take one and then I probably make an excuse to leave. When they offer me, I say no. Offer me, I say no. Anyone offer me, I say no. And to me, people like that time what they do is when people offer you drinks, right? They offer you something, they like you. That's why they offer to you.
Right.
So when people offer to you, that means they really like you. So when you refuse to them, that's a very, very damaging.
Yeah, I mean, that makes sense.
But because it's
I
tradition,
feel
I
like
mean,
though, I feel like going back to your everybody can't be a leader statement, because now I actually think that might be wrong. Like everybody can be a leader of themselves. Everybody. You should be.
no, everybody can be themselves. A leader, by definition, has to have followers.
Yeah. Shouldn't you follow yourself?
But that's not. You can be a leader of one. Well, to me, does it?
I don't know.
By definition, you leading someone. You can say I'm leading myself, but that's an excuse.
I don't know, because
It doesn't make sense to me, though.
you're a black sheep. You're doing what you know.
But
You're leading yourself to go down a value driven path of the
well,
things that
you're
you care
driving
about.
yourself, but you're not leading anyone. I think having leading yourself is just an excuse to become a leader. I say
I don't know.
I don't need that.
I think that goes down to the soul in the game conversation, though. Where it's
Being yourself is putting your soul in the game. If you be a leader, if you're a leader, then you're a leader.
can you
Because
be
for
a
me, it's like for me, it's like let's say for me and you, right? I'd rather have peers that is on my equal footing versus hey, I'm your leader. You follow me, right? I don't want that. That's not my characters. I don't want that, right? I actually hate to be a leader. I don't want to solve your problems. I just don't do. I'm sorry, nothing personal, Chris, but I don't want to solve your problems.
agree.
I don't want to solve anybody's problem, and especially when I'm a leader, I feel the obligation to solve people's problem. I actually hate that. So I don't want to be a leader.
How to be a leader without followers.
And I just don't buy into the leader without followers thing.
I don't know, right? I mean, this goes back to like more of like a
I
metaphysical.
think we need to keep it simple. I think it's getting too much into the.
No, I know. I'm thinking this is I'm thinking in my head right now. So this is not a refined thought. So I'm just I'll kick it around like on my own. Well, I'll come back to you in the future. But actually, I think we're officially
way past
beating this horse. Beating this tiny donkey in a shed. Down dead tonight.
Just make it. You want to be who you're supposed to be, not who you want to be, who you think you want to be, and don't take it the wrong way. Say, hey, I want to be whatever. I want to be free. I'm gonna run naked on the street.
Right.
Right. You're just being dumb. I'm sorry. You're being dumb. You're not being yourself. Right.
Right.
It's like, oh, I want to be. I want to say what I want to say, and I want to do what I want to do. Right. Go on the street and bash somebody in the head with it. Well, the thing is, you told me to be free. No, you're being an idiot, right? You bash somebody in the head, they're gonna smack you in the face.
I think if you dug deep down and thought about, do I want to be somebody that hurts other people, you probably would say no.
Exactly.
And now, if you say yes, and then you go kill somebody, then I guess I don't know. That's a weird one. I just don't know that very many people would. I believe in the humankind mentality. I just don't think that if people actually examined their thoughts and were like, I really want to hurt somebody.
This is the difference. This is what I'm saying is the difference is that who you're supposed to be, not who you want to be. Who you want to be is whatever put in your head as an idea, as a concept. As far as I think people killing other people, they are not really.
I don't think
it's in your nature. It's not in your nature, okay? Right. So you're talking about a lion killing a gazelle. It's in the lion's nature. But as far as human, it's not in your nature to go and kill another human.
Right.
Okay? It's just not in your nature. If you think you want to kill somebody, it's not you. That's what you think. So you need to be who you're supposed to be, based on your combinations of all the genes and DNA that you have. That makes who you're supposed to be. That animal, that person, that character, whatever. Not who you think you're supposed to be. Oh, I think I'm supposed to be Michael Jordan. I think I'm supposed to be Tom Brady. Or whatever. Right. You think. It's not what you think. It's not what you want. Right? As far as your rider is concerned, it is what the elephant needs to be. Your rider can only analyze and give it back to the elephant. The elephant is ultimately the carrier out of the actions.
half the damn time that writer needs to do no harm and stop doing shit. Get out of the way.
I mean, the
But yeah,
thing is, the writers just need to process. Okay, this is what I say. Well, you need to do whatever this you need to do that is, is good for both of us.
right.
So if you tell the elephant to go into the circus and dance all day long, well, the thing is he can do it, but he's not enjoying his life.
Right.
That's not his nature to be in a circus.
Agreed.
Right?
Agreed.
If I say, Chris, you need to go and marry a platypus, right? Right? I told you to go marry a platypus. That's not your nature. You want somebody who is a woman. You understand? That's yes, your nature. You cannot say, well, I don't want a woman. You think about it.
Right.
I don't want a woman. Right? You have a natural force to be partner up with a woman because that's your counterpart.
Right.
It's not like, oh, one day I choose to, I'm going to marry a platypus. Think about it. I'm going to marry a cow.
I agree.
Human go marry a cow.
Well,
so it's about their nature.
Right.
Nature is very force. It's a force and it's very powerful. So don't force nature.
Okay.
Force nature.
Yeah.
Well, it's the same concept. I mean, it's just a play on a word.
Right.
Nature is a force. Don't force nature.
Agreed. I agree. All right. Time to put a pin in this one for the night. Great discussion as always. And the question we can leave for everybody is, what big problems do you strive to want to be world class at in this life? And if you're not solving big problems for yourself, then what are you doing? You only got one life, right? So make it count. Thanks for joining, and we will see you all tomorrow for an exciting new book. We're officially off of the dip.
And going to the next mountain, right?
That's right. Actually,
right.
What is the next one? Just for fun. Give a preview. What do we got? We are at Sapiens. Part 4 or 5. All right.
Okay. That'd be interesting.
All right, we'll see you all tomorrow.
Sounds good. Good night, buddy.